Hi everyone! Bonjour tout le monde! Kumusta? Ako nga pala si Cruz, and I'm a PhD candidate in Educational Studies, focusing on language acquisition in the Department of Integrated Studies in Education at McGill University. My supervisor is Dr. Angelica Galante, and aside from research, I'm also teaching as a sessional course lecturer at Université du Québec à Montréal, and I'm also working with Dr. Galante as her research assistant in 3 different projects. So just a little bit about me to kind of contextualize why I'm interested in the kinds of research questions that I'm currently investigating. I was born and raised in the Philippines, and I grew up pretty plurilingually. I grew up speaking and learning Tagalog or Filipino at home. I grew up learning English at school because basically it's the medium of instruction for all of the subjects in the Philippines. And because my parents also worked in Hong Kong when I was a toddler, I also grew up hearing and picking up some Cantonese phrases here and there. At the same time, with extended family around me, I also grew up listening to and picking up some phrases from my heritage languages, Ilocano and Kapampangan. When I was 16, my family moved to Alberta to be with my mom. After having learned English in the Philippines, I thought I'll be good. However, surprise, surprise, my English was not the kind of English that was being taught, learned, or used in Alberta. That there were, let's say, a lot of pressures for me to relearn a language I thought I had already mastered, and to assimilate my accent or pronunciation and the kinds of vocabulary and phrases that I use into the local variety. Eventually, I also started learning French because I love languages. But even that, I quickly noticed that I was being taught French through a monolingual and monocultural lens that prioritized the standardized European Parisian variety. Eventually, I moved to Montreal to help teach English at a cégep or college here. I thought I got it. Again, I thought, okay, I'll be fine. But ironically, the French that I had just learned / mastered is not the French that was spoken here in the province. But anyway, I, pushed myself to learn the local variety as well. And now I don't even know what kind of French I speak. It's the John kind of French. Anyway, all of these experiences that I call of monolingualization, where I'm learning all of these languages, but it's almost as if I'm being put in a box to learn them and use them in only one particular way, have really motivated me to do the kind of research that I do now. So drawing from my own experiences of what I had just called as experiences of monolingualization, I've become interested in thinking about this question: how did I experience this monolingualization as a Filipino immigrant to Canada who came here growing up plurilingual, right? And because of this, I developed these research questions with my research participants who are also Filipino-Canadian immigrants in the city of Montreal. My first research question is: how do these Filipino immigrants, who are additional language users and learners, develop and express their plurilingual identity in day-to-day situations, not only over time, but across spaces at points in time? My second research question pertains to: how do they perceive the plurilingual competence that they believe they have or don't have? And third, I'm also interested in asking, what do their lived and felt experiences and their voices suggest for how we can better implement critical plurilingual pedagogies? So to address these research questions, I'm using a variety of quantitative and qualitative tools, demographic questionnaire. I'm also using the plurilingual and pluricultural competence scale. But more importantly, I developed my own research instrument for this research, which I call Plurilingual Identity Wheel, or PluriWheel for short. PluriWheel basically has concentric circles that represent monolingual, bilingual, and plurilingual identities. Along the wheels are multiple spokes that represent different communicative contexts, such as school, work, home, digital spaces, social media, etc. I use the PluriWheel to prompt my participants and co-reflect with them while interviewing them. And to supplement the PluriWheel, I'm also conducting linguistic ethnography, or I work around their schedules to see them weekly. Also hold ethnographic interviewing with them as they go through day-to-day situations. Basically, one of the main parts that I feel comfortable sharing at the moment is that there's this interesting relationship between fluidity and fixity, and the concepts of identity as fluid and dynamic and identity as fixed and static that I've been noticing in my participants. What I mean by that is normally we think of plurilingual identity and practices as a very fluid concept, but what I see in my participants is despite the fact that they identify as plurilingual, they still sometimes preferably, so they prefer to engage in what we would consider more fixed or static language practices, which is super interesting because I feel like it contradicts to a certain extent popular discourses in current literature that mostly focus on the idea that fluidity is simply the opposite of fixity. I hope to contribute, firstly, this new instrument that, to my knowledge, is a novel reflection and interview tool, the Pluriwheel, that I hope other researchers in the future can use to further investigate these new ones that I just talked about the fluidity and fixity of plurilingual identities and practices in day-to-day communicative and social settings. The second contribution that I hope is how we, as plurilingual researchers, can further contribute to the advancement and sustaining of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion in and through plurilingual education. And finally, I, of course, overall hope to contribute to this growing resistance, this emergent challenge to Canadian bilingualism by breaking away from this discourse of official bilingualism and that we speak English and French by actually reflecting plurilingual realities of today's Canadians. Thank you so much for listening and watching my research story. Merci beaucoup. Maraming salamat. I hope to hear from you if you're ever interested, if I got you excited about plurilingual education. Please feel free to get in touch with me through my email. You can also take a look at my website, and you can also reach me through LinkedIn. Thank you so much, and hope to see you soon.